only every interview was like you, right?
The following is a DJ Skee presentation.
I was doing a 4 a.m. shift on Saturday night. You just find your calling sometimes and you go all in on it. I had this little kid, he was in high school, and just started rapping. He rapped for 15 minutes straight. My reaction was like, wow, that's like the most incredible rap I've ever seen. Come a long way, right?
Where does that skill come from of identifying a trend before it explodes?
I've always had this unique skill set of like always wanting to be first, identifying an artist, being first to play them. I've kind of always been able to just identify and see kind of where the world is moving. Prince, he wants you to write his tour book. And I was like, all right. Every night I saw guitar picks and set lists and was picking them up. And I was like, these belong in the Smithsonian.
What's the best tour story you have? What's up, man? How you been?
What's up? Welcome to LA.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for having me. And also thank you for doing this.
Dude, of course. You're literally down the street from us, so it works out perfectly.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember our original interview, but the interview was too fire that it burned up the SD card.
That's what happens, right? That's what we do. So that's why we got to be back now, bigger and stronger than ever.
Yeah, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. So it worked itself out.
Now it got you to LA in this beautiful weather.
Exactly. How much of our last interview, or our original interview, do you remember?
I remember a good portion of it, actually.
Okay.
What do we have here?
We have here the DJ Skeesonian. Basically, it's the origin of DJ Skee told in a couple things. You know, got the card, got the tape.
So this is the first cassette I ever bought, first CD I ever bought, a card of my most iconic set, the 91, of course, Upper Deck Baseball with the Griffey, and my card on there. And then to top it off, hold on, Raptor jersey, and because we just did the drop, limited vinyl. Incredible.
So, you know, I was trying to do my best Nardwuar impression.
Dude, I still have the tapes and stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah,
okay,
of course,
sick,
dude.
sick.
Dude, this is so sick, dude.
I do have a follow-up gift for that.
What?
I don't know if you own this or not, but I felt like it was especially fitting for you. And it's right here.
Wow. I do not have this.
Okay, perfect.
That's incredible. So Minneapolis Genius 94 East Record Store Day, 1975 to 1978 studio recordings from Prince. Vinyl's been out of print and unavailable until now. Second bonus LP, never done that. And it's two 12-inch LPs, including like my favorite, like teal green is one of those colors. Dude, that's fire. I didn't even know this existed.
From what I researched, it's the actual first project Prince was ever on.
That makes sense time-wise.
Yeah, and then Minneapolis Genius. I felt like it was fitting for...
I don't know about that, but I appreciate it. That's really kind of you, but I love this. This is sick, dude. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you appreciate it.
Dude, it was, I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. It's amazing. And again, right? Like, if only every interview was like you, right? Then I'd be a happy man.
Try my best.
Dude,
So,
sick. First
first question I really want to ask you is, I want you to describe to me the transition from playing ball in center field and spinning records at KMOJ.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Like, so you nailed it, right? And going back early, I was a center fielder. I thought I was going to be a pro baseball player. But once I got my first turntables and got into DJing, I just knew that was my calling and my destiny. And, you know, I realized in order to achieve high levels of success, I needed to hyper-focus and put it all behind it. So I stopped playing baseball in high school and just went all in. And as you said, started a small show. KMOJ was a small community radio station in Minneapolis. You know, the wattage was so poor, right? Like you could only hear it for probably a few blocks. I was doing a 4 a.m. shift on Saturday nights with another DJ, right? That let me come on and kind of gave me my shot, but I loved it, right? I probably had 2 listeners, but I had more fun in that than I was, you know, when I was on the biggest stations in the world for that. And, you know, that transition was, you know, it wasn't even difficult because I just fell in love. Like you find your passions, even though I loved baseball and it's still one of my favorite things. Like you just find your calling sometimes and you go all in on it.
Those 4 a.m. shifts working at the station, I'm sure you probably lost a lot of sleep, right? So,
man,
did you lose even more sleep burning mixtapes from Canal Street?
Dude, great memory. Honestly, I lost more burning mixtapes from Canal Street because at least when I was doing the 4 a.m. shift, the turntables would always get stolen from the station. So we'd have to pre-record our mixes. So I'd go home, I pre-record them like earlier in the night. I'd usually try to sleep for like an hour or two, set an alarm, get there at 4. We'd be on till 6 a.m., right? So smash out, drive across town, get to the station, worst part of town, right? Like in the time, Minneapolis had the highest murder rate in the country. But the people there always took great care of me and, you know, always showed love because I was there for good intentions. But, you know, when I was burning the CDs, this was back in the day where it was like real time. I was making my own mixtapes. I didn't have a pressing or factory. You could go there, but it was really expensive. I didn't get to do that until I started taking off. So the first ones were like literally me changing them every hour. And I remember the difference maker was Panasonic came out with a CD you could burn at double the speed. So CDs were 74 minutes, I believe. So you could get it done. And after it takes like a couple minutes to finalize, if anybody remembers. So it was like about 40 minutes to do it. So every 40 minutes you could do it. So I got 2 of them, right? So get up, set an alarm every 40 minutes, take the CDs out, write on them, insert a new one and stuff. And that was definitely more labor intensive. I forgot that pain. You're bringing up bad memories now, right? Like it was amazing in retrospect, but something I never want to experience again, right?
I hope I don't bring up any more bad ones.
No.
But,
It's a great one. I totally forgot about that, but now I'm like, oh, that was brutal.
At the start of the conversation, we're talking about like finding your passions and stuff. Your dad was really big on nurturing your passions and really diving deep into them. With that said, how did he feel when the RIAA, came knocking on your door and was basically like, we're going to sue you?
Oh yeah, when I was like 16 years old, that was fun. First time when there was a letter in the mail, I just threw it out. I was like, I'm gonna go away. Then they ended up like emailing him or calling him, and because I'd bought the domains, right, I was underage, so you had to at the time be 18-year-old and use a credit card. So I used his card to buy the domain for $6 or whatever it was that I was hosting my site on, and it was real. Like that was a real lawsuit. Like, and the threats, and especially at the time, like. And what I did with it wasn't like I wasn't bootlegging music, right? We're creating mixtapes, which is a historical gray area in the music industry. It's obviously how so many artists, how I later built my name, right? But it's how all of these artists get on there. But it wasn't looked at like that way from the recording industry. They thought it was like I was like bootlegging these songs and stuff. So it was a big issue. Luckily, I was a high school 16-year-old, right? And he was able to talk his way out of it and get out of that. But it was serious, right? And I had to promise I'd never make a mixtape again. And, he wasn't very happy. I mean, he knew I was ambitious. I think like that side he liked, but yeah, I don't think anybody likes getting a threatening lawsuit. It's like $100,000 per song. So if you do one mixtape, it's 20 songs. You're like, just $2 million, right? Like, so it was real. It was tough, but we worked through it and got out of it.
Those were always the horror stories I would hear whenever I downloaded anything off of LimeWire. So
yeah, and they came after me. It was real from that. And I wasn't even like doing the bootleg stuff, but it's all good. Obviously, like, the music industry caught up and I got hired by the music industry from that. So it's crazy.
Yeah, obviously everything happens for a reason and then it's all part of our origin stories, right?
Exactly, right?
Speaking of origin stories, what can you tell me about Urban Lights and Young and the Restless?
So Urban Lights, that's a great one. Urban Lights was the first store to ever sell my mixtape. So they're in St. Paul, Minnesota. I went to St. Paul Central High School, just down the street, a few blocks away. So I used to walk over there. That's where I got my first record. My first record, I still remember vividly. It was similar to this color. It was a clear green, still DRE promo copy. And it was the first record that I bought on vinyl. I was just using CDs up until that point. And Tim was great, and he was the one that gave me my shot on, I was like, I want to be on radio. And he's like, he saw, I think, my ambition and stuff and connected me with another DJ who was doing the KMOJ Saturday night shifts. And he was like, come do a mix like late at night. And I was grateful for them. So he helped introduce me. And Young and the Reckless was a group that he had that I was, DJing for and started helping them out and producing things. And as I started like making waves and getting ambitious in that, I was like putting them on my mixtapes and things because I started building a following. So it turned in from, something that, I was just trying to get my way in the door. Then I had a little, buzz and stuff and was doing my thing. So started helping them out and DJing and producing things for them and doing mixtapes with them. But some good dudes, right? So
I've noticed a common pattern with all of these stories that you've said.
Yeah.
And how, I'm sure you've heard this quote, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
It's one of my favorite sayings.
How much luck came into play when you were walking down the street and you were at a Ed Hardy store on Melrose?
Yeah, it's funny. So again, like it's, luck is preparation meets opportunity. So when I moved to LA, I was always DJing, but Steve Rifkin didn't hire me as a DJ. He knew he signed, like Funk Flex was on his label, like all these, he knew every DJ. He hired me because he saw what I was doing on the internet at a time that he thought the internet was going to disrupt his business. And he's like, let me get a kid that's like hungry and hustle. And so he saw some talent in me. So I came out here in LA, although I was always a DJ, like my first job wasn't a DJ. I was working in the industry and I was always DJing, right? And trying to get my big break. And it was tough at the time as a DJ, right? Like I was doing mixtapes, but unless you were around an artist, it was tough to stand out. There just weren't platforms like that. The internet was still new. The DJ world that you see today did not even exist. Like, DJs were not always like, it was cool, but it was just a different thing. had happened to build a relationship in the marketing side, working with Game, before he'd even signed to G Unit and done those things, knew him, saw the talent, and just wanted to be around, greatness. And instantly knew, as soon as I heard the music and saw the team behind him, just knew what it was going to be, and built a strong relationship. At that point, I had started my own company. We were doing all the marketing for T-Mobile, for Daimler Chrysler in the day, and my studio was on Melrose, not too far from where we are right now, actually. And I'd built a studio on there. I'd started DJing on radio. I'd expanded to Sirius at the time. It was before even Sirius XM. There weren't many listeners, but it was building my name in the DJ world and trying to, make it in that while I was working my day job. Happened to run into Game across the street when I was going to get my car wash. The big car wash was down the street. He was at Ed Hardy, and he, it was after the whole 50 beef, and I knew both sides and worked with them and thought it was all good. And he's like, no, I'm dissing him. And he handed me a CD of what the first 5 minutes of his 300 bars, his kind of coming out diss at 50 was. And I listened to it and I was like, oh, wow, this is incredible, but it was all over one beat. And then me being a DJ, and someone was like, dude, you've got to mix this up and change it, especially if I knew 300 bars. It's record bars. That's 15 minutes, right? It's not an average song is a verse is 16 bars. And so, you do the math and I'm like, wow, he cannot have this one beat, even though it's great. To sleep, it's not people are not going to listen for 15 minutes. So I had an idea. I just oh, you should do this. And kind of out of I had no expectations or anything. I was like, hey, you should do something. I thought this would be cool. Just some advice, go do that. And I sent it to him, and 15 minutes later he called me and he's like, I'm on the way. I'm like, where to? He's like, back to Melrose, to your studio. We're recording this. I'm like, recording what? He's like, do 300 bars. What are we talking about? I was like, all right. Didn't really know what it meant. And then that's where we just got in the studio, and that was the moment that my DJ career really that changed everything and allowed me to focus on that. And if it wasn't for me running him into Melrose, and again, to the luck is preparation. I'd met him. I'd had my studio. I'd been working my whole life for that, but just happened to run into him on the street. If I wasn't getting my car wash down there, that probably never would have came about. And, all those things came together. And then that was my, my big break in kind of the national and I guess worldwide level as a DJ.
The one thing I'm really curious about, because I remember growing up in that time with the 50 and Game G Unit beef, and that was wild. When you were in the studio and he was just, spitting all that venom, were you like, oh shit, this is going to get intense?
I knew what it was, right? And at that age, and especially then, I really had no fear on that. It wasn't me saying that. I was producing things from that. I actually didn't think, even when he was recording it with me, I didn't think he was going to even put my name on it. I was like, oh, this is just going to be really cool. Let me do this. And, then he's like, oh yeah, send me your logo. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, for the mixtape cover, send me your logo. And credit to him, he didn't have to do that at all, right? He could have just, we've heard so many stories on people ghost producing songs and never getting the shine and other people getting credit. So he went out of his way to kind of give me that credit, which is why I always try to show him, so much love for giving me that break. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be in the same position today from those things. And, then that was when I realized oh shit, I'm going to be in the middle of this, right? By association and obviously producing those records. So, but I was like, no fear. You have to take opportunities.
Did you ever feel like your life was in danger? Because a lot of people died during that beef.
Yeah, that was a real beef. People don't realize. And in retrospect, I'm like, dude, why was I even I should have stayed a million, knowing the smartness in you from those things. But there was real in that. I took the position, obviously I, was associated with one side, which was Game, right? And I'd worked with 50 before. I have no issues, no beef with him. 50 had Hookade. He was never going to use me as a DJ. So I was and being in the West Coast, being in LA, being friends with Game, I was I'm here to, to do that. And if that's how I have to get my start, what are you going to do? You can't say no to opportunity sometimes. For me, I never took it and got involved in that street level. I never tried to be something that I wasn't. So I never feared for myself. I definitely, kept an eye out. There were definitely intense moments and weird things that happened, and you change the way that you drive. And I learned a lot, right? That I can just, it's probably good to know from a security perspective now. But I never really tried to be outspoken and get into it. I wasn't sitting there with a do-rag, banging blood, calling people out. Of course, I was producing these songs for Game, but at the time, Nas had Ether, Ron Bowser did. He was the producer, and of course you're associated, but I of course was guilt by association, but I never got involved and never tried to get into any there was real gang and street things that are way beyond me that I have no experience and have no desire to get into. And because I didn't step into that side or ever pretend to, I think, I was able to, do what I did, which was kind of produce and present it as a DJ.
Did that permanently affect your relationship with 50?
I think so, right? Like, I mean, I just don't have a real relationship with him, which is, like, and it's fine. I think Game and I don't even know. I think they're good now and all those things. But like, I still have a good relationship with some of his team members, right? And all that. And like, we'd done stuff. Obviously, it stopped working. Like, it was on the marketing side because certain things fall out, of course, right? Like, I wouldn't want to be around him if I was that. But I don't think there's like, we've been on stage a few times and all that. I don't think there's like, maybe he probably doesn't even know who I am at that point, right? So
yeah, time heals all wounds. And I've heard,
100%.
I don't know if it was an interview with you, but with someone else where he was just like, oh, they were kids back then, right? So
100%, right? 100%. And for me, like, I have no regrets on those things, right? Like, if I didn't do that as a DJ, especially at that time, unless you were coming up with an artist. And hip hop, there's no other way to get out there and to get known. And so like without that, I don't know if it ever would have happened for me as a DJ. And it, I was able to also like make it, hey, this is more like, I wanted to be more than just one artist. Like Love Game and always would hold him down, but it wasn't me just being like, I'm with Game. I wasn't his touring DJ. He had another one. So like I was associated, but quickly like expanded and leveraged that to become like the West Coast hip hop DJs. I kind of evolved from, at first everybody thought of me as like, oh, it's just Games DJ. I'm like, oh, I'm really not, but like, it's a homie, like we'll support. And I produced those records. And then that's how I got introduced to Kendrick, to all the West Coast guys that we were working with at the time, from Crooked Glasses, Snoop, Topic, Bad Luck, Mike'stra, like all that whole kind of era, J-Rock, the whole TDE fam, like so many people.
You just brought up Kendrick. I wanted to ask about the 15-minute freestyle that a 16-year-old K-Dot did for you in Game. What was that like? And did you know, listening to him rap, he's the next one up? Or
yeah, so yes and no. So it was a week after I produced 300 Bars. Game was back in town. He was at my studio and he knew Top Dog, right? So Top Dog's like, I'm going to come by. And he was actually bringing down J-Rock to introduce. And I think that might have been one of the early, it might have been the first time that Game met J-Rock. Definitely, I think the first time for K-Dot. And Top Dog's like, I had this little kid. And Kendrick looked like, again, like he was in high school at the time and all those things. And he's like, go. And they have this on video. I don't know who videotaped it. I really hope this videotape is out there somewhere and surfaces someday. But he literally was, I remember it vividly, right? Like it was a sunny afternoon into the day. He's in the hallway. There's probably around 20, 25 other people there. He just starts rapping. It's outside my studio, like literally in the hallway between, because I have my office and my studio was across the way. And he was right in between it. And he just started rapping. He rapped for 15 minutes straight and just like real lyricist. So it was like, my reaction was like, wow, that's like the most incredible rap I've ever seen from like a freestyle perspective. And at that time, like hip hop, there was like rappers that could freestyle and rappers that could make a record. And I was like, it's amazing if he can ever like and there was usually not much overlap, which is ironic because he's gone on to make the best hip hop albums of all time, right? Like it's pure records and bodies of work. But at that time, I don't think his mind was there, but there was like a clear delineation. I was like, if he can actually learn to make a record, he'll be great, right? Like he'll be the best. Like most of the time that never happens, but I think everybody saw the talent early on. The question was like, can you put this now on wax and on record and make a real body of work and not just go off your dome as a freestylist, because that'll get you into battle rap competitions and things, but it won't get you that mainstream appeal. But we saw that everybody saw the talent there instantly. There was no question. It wasn't just like me. It was like, he was really that good. Like, I'd love to be like, oh, I saw it. Nobody else did. Everybody knew and saw it as soon as they saw it, Is
that why you booked him for MV Expo 2006?
So it's funny. So we had Game performing there and we actually ended up doing a whole TDE thing. And I later learned, I didn't realize, Kendrick told me that was his first performance. He went on as part of that. And, I was interviewing him. I didn't find out until I was interviewing him live on my first TV show. And it was like, I asked him, like, oh, well, do you remember your first show? I was like, yeah, it was with you. I was like, what? He's like, it was at Envy. And I've got the footage of that, which is wild to see him in like the 5XT on stage, right? Like, this is kind of like the hype man for that. And, it was funny. I was talking with him. He, as he walked off the stage, the Thursday night before Super Bowl, they do the final Super Bowl rehearsal that they actually tape as a backup for TV. So after he walked off, we're there doing some work with him on the realist side. And, great conversation, all those things. I was like, come a long way, right? Like from MV Expo to this. And for me, it was like a true full circle moment because there's not that many opportunities in life that you get to see something from the beginning and end, truly from the beginning of his like first show, early freestyles, producing his like first, kind of mixtapes that he went out there to then, again, it gets no bigger than the Super Bowl. There's nothing else for him or anybody else to do beyond that, right? So like to be that and to see him who hasn't changed and still like after that moment, like I wanted to talk about him. He was asking about me, and we had that conversation. Like the dude has not changed and is so humble, and that whole crew is just the PG Langston crew has just been so amazing to work with, and such good guys. It's just crazy to see those things literally, almost 20 years later.
I love that answer, but it also makes it hard for me to ask this follow-up question.
Yeah, you're good.
Because I know you'll probably give a politically correct answer,
You're
but
good.
who are you siding with on the Drake and Kendrick?
Man, I don't know which side. I mean, like, look,
Yeah.
I've both have always been good to me, so I have nothing bad to say about Drake. No issues. Like none of that stuff has affected me. He's always been great to me. I think he's an incredible talent that's put out great things. Kendrick owns the world right now. I don't think there's any question. I think, if you look at the battle, like there's really not much debate who I think came out on top and won that, right? I think Kendrick made every right move. I don't think that the moves as a fan, like just watching from the outside, that Drake made were the right ones. And it's I think it was great for hip hop though. It's like the first time watching and seeing those things happen was like just so energetic. The day the records were coming out back and forth, like was just amazing. So I think it was like, it gave a much needed lift for hip hop that I'm all too familiar with, for better or worse, in battles. And it brought back like that energy and that excitement and that fun, kind of to the scene as a whole.
Does that affect where you would place either one on like an all-time list? By all-time, I mean like if you factor in cultural impact, their whole catalog, take everything into account.
I think at this point, when it comes to hip hop, and when you look at what hip hop is an art form, I think Kendrick has elevated himself into the number one spot over Jay was previously there for me, right? Because, and Super Bowl performance really did it. He did it at the highest stage. When I saw the set that Thursday night, I realized I thought he was going to do like, oh, let me do the Beyonce feature and like the most commercial of the commercial songs that he's had. And he didn't, right? Like not only, of course, he did some of like the diss tracks, but it wasn't even about that. It was like some of the other records that he chose, and what he didn't chose said a lot, and how confident he was. And also the political undertones, how he did it, and how he had the quadruple entendres, right? Like of like, why is Serena there? Well, it means this and this. And, she got in trouble for crip walking or doing the sea walk on the biggest stage in Wimbledon. And now she's on a bigger stage and doing it in front of the camera for that, right? Like obviously knowing the histories there was just like so many layers. And it was one of those performances that a lot of people that weren't hip hop fans didn't understand, but then they read about and went back and watched. And it's still like there's gems that you find, and he crushed it. So I think like you look at the performances and how he's been able to do it at the highest level without dumbing down, the body of work musically, the cultural impact, how he's done it for like, again, his talent on the raw, like spitter side. I don't think anybody can compare how he's learned how to then make the most incredible bodies of work, been getting a Pulitzer Prize and doing it all on his terms, which is incredibly difficult. And I don't even know how you do, and I give them all the credit in the world. I think it's tough. On the other hand, like Drake, the most commercially successful artists of all time, and it's beyond hip hop, right? Like he came in singing and pop and it's incredible hip hop records too, right? So, there's no question, I think, that he is, an all-time great. But I think when you look at pure hip hop, Kendrick over Jay, who previously occupied that spot for me.
Only reason why I was kind of trying to push you on that is because, it's the Canadian boy in me. Because I've noticed that, especially after the beef, Drake's seen a lot of slander.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, like that's the disappointing side of just the industry and the world in general. Like it's momentum. Everybody, like you see, everybody wants to see you win. Then everybody wants to see you fail, and that sets you up for a comeback, right? Like they want to see those things too. So there'll be those moments, right? Like I think, the battle wasn't the best for him. Some good records came out on both sides. I think the public obviously was clear on who the winner was. I think, but I don't think he's still doing all right? Like he's doing all right. Like people are like, oh, he's still like, oh, sorry. He still has the 767 or whatever it is, right? Like he's doing all right. He's all right.
I'm sure you definitely feel a sense of pride since you have that connection with Kendrick. You have that with a lot of artists. So I want to know about one in particular. And at the time you met him, it was in Las Vegas and he was a video gamer. I want to know more about that.
So Post, it's wild. I met Post through a friend, Matt, and Jen Mickelson. She'd actually, Matt's been a mentor of mine, but they were flying out all these video gamers. They had a glasses company called Gunners. It's targeting gamers because of blue light reduction and things. It's better for your eyes. Post was best friends with one of the kids that was one of the top. I think it was a Minecraft gamer at the side. And I remember they were like, oh yeah, listen to like he was with him. He's like, was his plus one basically. We flew out, Matt flew us all out on a jet. He's like, hop on with me to these things. I'm like, all right. I was going to Vegas. I think I was DJing at the time for something. And he's like, oh, listen to my boy's music. And dude's wearing loafers and like hat, curly hair, no tattoos, like teenager, I think, right? At the time, like really young. And we're like, dude, stuff is good. And then like a couple years later, you know, I remember sitting in my office, I'd heard this kid Post Malone that was like blowing up. And like at the time I'd had that platform with Sirius, with my TV shows and all that. And I wanted to kind of like find and identify and touch all these artists. You know, it'd be their like first platform to come out on in a big public way. And he was sitting there and I was like, wait, he's like, yeah, we've met. I was like, he's like, you don't remember? I was like, what do I know? Like, I knew I recognized the face. I'm like, where the hell we met? He's like, dude, we met in Vegas a couple of years ago. I was like, oh my God, that was you, right? So like, and I still have the pictures. We took all of them out to Molly Mall's house, who Drake, Cribbo, Molly Mall, right? Like, so, which was insane. Justin Bieber was out, another Canadian, right? Was out that night. It wasn't one of his finest nights. But like,
wait. Why is that? What is that?
It's Vegas, right? Like, it's never anything good. He's young. Bieber was in his phase then, but seeing Post there, right, was like, you know, going in retrospect, it's just wild to see, you know, I'm just so fortunate to have had a front row view to so many of these artists and that talent to like look at. That's why, like, look, I don't say, even when I go back to the question on who's the greatest, like, I don't say that lightly. I've really thought about it. And I didn't think up until like last year, I knew Kendrick was up there, but after seeing the commercial impact and everything that he's had and how he's done it on his terms, I think there's no question. So for me to go back and look at him, look at Post, look at all these artists that I've known, watch and watch come up and watch them become the greatest is just insane. And as a kid, if you're like, oh, you're going to meet and book the show and do the first mixtape and interview the greatest hip hop artist of all time, and be like, you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about? You know?
Where does that come from? That skill of like identifying, oh, they're really good, or it doesn't just apply to artists, like the sidekick and everything like that. So where does that skill come from of identifying a trend before it explodes?
I don't know. I think like I've always had this unique skill set of like always wanting to be first, right? And whether that's testing new technologies, like identifying an artist, being first to play them, it was just something that excited me. And I think I've always had like good taste. There's certain things that you just can teach and you can't. And then just being in the right place at the right time and surrounding myself. And, you know, I always say like, I'm not the guy that's like so cool that I'm discovering something that's like too hipster that doesn't become that. I'm not generally like, I'm not making it like Kendrick wasn't like, he wasn't raw when, I mean, he'd like been rapping and freestyle. Like, it wasn't like I taught him how to rap or anything, or it was like there when he learned how to rap. But when he was like coming up, I saw it. We're like, oh, there's something there. I think it's just something you just kind of know. There's an aura to it. There's some things that can't be said. There's certain things that can't be measured. Those can't be measured by the algorithms. They can't be measured and detected by AI or anything like that. It's just like, if you know, and if you have that taste, and I've just been fortunate that, you know, I've kind of always been able to just identify and see kind of where the world is moving. And that's also what excites me. That's my passion. I don't like doing things for better or worse. I think it's hurt me sometimes not following trends, just trying to do what's next and being ahead of that. Cause that's, you know, I never want to, you know, do something that other people have done.
That actually segues perfect into what I'm about to ask next. I want to bring it back to the Minneapolis genius here.
Yeah,
I mean, we have two right here.
No, one for sure.
In terms of being ahead of all the trends, how was going on tour with Prince the foundation for The Realest?
Insane. So with Prince, was so fortunate, right? And again, right place, right time. I'd interviewed one of his artists on Kiss FM. He listened to the interview, liked it, invited me. He was doing a show. We're in Hollywood, right up the street at the Sayers Club. The Sayers Club is a club that fits 40 people. It's like the size of this room, basically, right? And usually, like, I'm so burned out on going to shows, it almost becomes work. I never go, and if I go, I'm there late. Like Prince, like the opportunity to see him in this environment. I got there, and by the way, Prince is notoriously late, and he's always going to go on like 4 hours later. I got there when the doors opened because I'm like, I want to be there. So I was this close to Prince, watching him on stage, right? And I wrote a whole kind of review on my experience in Billboard. He ended up liking it, found I was from Minnesota. His manager at the time, Julia, reached out. I was like, hey, let's, you know, come on tour. He wants you to write his tour book. And I was like, all right, like, how could I say no? I was like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. It was amazing. But like every night, right? Like I saw guitar picks and set lists and was picking them up. And I was like, these belong in the Smithsonian. To Prince, right? To him, it's a show, you know, on, you know, whatever night in Hollywood, one of a million. It's not even like, he's done way more important shows to him, Super Bowl, et cetera. And even then he's not keeping the set list because it's not valuable. So I was like, why is nobody doing music memorabilia, man? There's like such an opportunity. I know I just want this as a fan, and everybody would come in and try to, you know, everybody wants like the set list or guitar picks or, guitars, and it just like didn't exist. So, the idea kind of incubated in my head going back all the way to it's like 2014, I think. In that era, I'd always been a big collector of things, but that kind of like set the tone, like, why is nobody doing this, right? Like it got that idea thinking, even though it didn't kind of bear itself until later on.
What's the best tour story you have from the autobiography? The best tour story that Iman Shumpert doesn't know.
He didn't start one show until his girlfriend at the time would show up. So everybody's waiting there like 5 hours, and she was on a plane that was delayed from LAX. So he was trying to book her a private jet while she was already on another one that was delayed. And like, you can't just, it's like, tell her to walk off. It's like, well, you can't just walk off the plane and walk across the runway because at LAX, right? Like the FBO's on the other side. Right. Like, it doesn't work that way. He's like, just tell her to walk off and cross the runway. It's like, no, dude, like, it's wild. Prince is wild.
What? That's money.
And he wouldn't start the show until she arrived. She showed up like 12:30, 12:45.
So everybody's just bugging out. And
4-hour delay. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Prince, best story. I mean, he was fired. Like, he was just wild, right? Like, in a good way. He knew, like, I'll say he was in on the joke a little bit, right? Like, yes, he was eccentric and all the stuff that you saw, as so many artists are that, are at that level of fame and crazy, but he also played into it, right? Like, he knew what he was doing. And, at the end of the day, he was just a regular person, which you sometimes forget because he was such an alien in terms of skill. There's, no, in terms of talent, musicians, there's nobody even close to him in terms of just raw musical talent, but just another person. And just seeing, he's putting on different shows every night, his thought process, how he was so eccentric in different ways, but how he knew what he was doing and play into that stuff. Like, man, every night was a different experience, to put it that way. He wouldn't start shows until certain people were there. We were waiting on planes. There was a plane that was laid out of LA, wouldn't start the show until somebody on that plane had landed, right? So like, just those things were wild. They were like, oh, guess we're waiting. And he was trying to get them to like fly a private jet. And he's like, can you book a jet? And they're like, well, you can't. So like, he's like, just have him walk across the runway. It's like, well, the FBI's on the other side. You don't just walk across the runway. It's not that easy, right? So like, it was just incredible, a great experience.
Is that book ever going to come out?
We'll see, right? Like, I knew it never would, because then of course he's like, oh yeah, just have him give me like a $20 million advance. I'm like, these don't really exist in the book world. And he wasn't like, he's Prince, so he's always iconic, but he wasn't like the most popular musician on the Billboard charts at the time, right? So like, and book publisher's not going to do that. So I knew it wasn't going to, after I was like, I knew there'd be something. So I was like, yeah, we can put it out. Just get me that advance. I was like, it's probably not going to happen, but I knew something like that would happen. So it's like, I'm still rolling, like the chance to go on the road with Prince. Incredible.
At the very least, it is a nice piece to have in the vault, even though
100%, right?
But is there a piece of music, hip hop, or pop culture memorabilia that you don't own?
Oh yeah.
That would top the Death Row plaque?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So the Death Row plaque is Dre's plaque for Chronic, Doggy Style, Snoop, What's My Name, Nothing But a G Thing, and Dre Day, the single. So like arguably two of the greatest hip hop albums, three of the greatest hip hop singles, all on one giant plaque to Dre. It's not like it's to whoever, right? It's his personal one, and then he signed it and gave it to me, so it makes it all that more special. I really want one of the Prince cloud guitars, right? So if there was one from like that tour or something that I saw, like that would be like, especially because he's not here. But you know what? It's tough to top that Dre plaque. Like I guess things that have memories. We authenticated all the Super Bowl stuff for Kendrick, so I don't know what else would be up there. It's tough. I guess like I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Tupac, something maybe. I don't know.
Mine would probably be, unfortunately, he's not been in the news positively as of recently, but Kanye's outfit when he performed Runaway for the first time at VMAs. That would be, I think, like
incredible, right? Like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, no matter what you think of those people, those are still iconic moments that they go down in history. So yeah, it's a great one, right?
Now that we're on the topic of like memorabilia, collectibles and stuff, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little.
Oh,
we're gonna do a start, bench, and cut, and we're gonna do this for specific kicks.
All right, great.
I want to put a spin on this. Let's say you will start, bench, and cut them, but the one you start is the one that stays in existence, while the ones you bench and cut, they're erased from the timeline.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that changes it.
Okay, so Jordan 11, say specifically the Concord Jordan 11, the Nike Ski Air, and then the Air CB 34 Godzilla.
Those are great ones. I think the one that stays forever, even though I'm burned out on it, is the Jordan 11. It's the Concord, still I think the greatest shoe of all time, even though I haven't worn it in a long time, because I think it just got a little played out and oversaturated in too many releases. Please stop releasing it. It's got to stay special. But I don't think anything tops that. They're too interesting. I mean, nobody else cares about the ski shoe but me. So if we're doing it for culture, like that one's thrown out. For me, it's probably the top of the list because seeing my name on a Nike shoe is still the most insane thing. CB34 is iconic, and that was the shoe that got me obsessed with shoes because my mom wouldn't buy it for me. And that's what my friends at school had it, and she got me some shoes at like Payless and got me some art things to paint on it. And like they didn't, I got made fun of for that. So I think that's what like forever kept me like obsessed and why I bought so many shoes, right? So, but iconic shoe in that moment. But going back to it, I think Jordan 11.
Is there a pair of shoes that you don't own? Because I've seen like the videos of your closet, and it's probably like the wildest sneaker collection I've ever seen in my life.
Too many. There's definitely bigger ones out there. I try to connect what I like, and I've been doing it like it's how I made money when I was a teenager. So it's not new for me, and I have some of those original Jordan 11s. From when, like, it's not like I went back and rebought them. I bought them at the Mall of America as a kid. I stood in line at the time for it and tracked them down. But pair I don't own. There's plenty I don't own. I mean, there's still so many. There's so many releases, right? So it's impossible to keep up. And you're always looking for what's in the moment. Something I really want that I don't own. I don't know. It's a good question. I think I've gotten most everything that I really, really want that I'm fortunate about. Let me actually look right now. Well, look, I'll see what I like got bids on or like what I've been bid recently.
You're gonna go through StockX right now?
Yeah, let's see like recent. I'll look at my bid history. We'll start. We'll start there. History on bids. Let's see. SBs. I end up buying them when I like them. That's the challenge. Oh, you know what I really want? It's an easy one. Chunky Dunkies. I don't have those. The Ben & Jerry's SBs.
Oh.
Mickey SBs. Yeah. I love those. And they just are so much. And I'm like, they're going to come down. They keep going up. So that's them, the Chunky Dunkies. So without question, yeah.
How much does nostalgia come into play when it comes to collectibles for you?
I think it's everything, right? Because we're selling things that from a pure, like, I guess, product value perspective aren't there, meaning that it's not a bar of gold that you can melt down, right? Like the watch is a value because it's made of white gold or whatever that is, right? So you can, if nothing else, there's like an asset value with even cards, right? Or collectibles, like it's a piece of paper that's printed on, like a piece of paper if it gets thrown away, or like a jersey, it's a dirty old jersey, the Jordan jersey that sold for $10 million. It's no different than one that you can get anywhere else. The difference is that he wore that one at that key moment, and it reminds you and reflects and represents, maybe the greatest basketball player ever in his height and one of his greatest moments. So everything is nostalgia, right? And it's those memories, and it's really that feeling that it evokes from that. Because without that, it's as a pure product and like kind of based on those things, in essence, worthless.
We talked about your hip hop holy grails. Which one's the most nostalgic in terms of your sports memorabilia?
Sports memorabilia, some of the personalized stuff that I've gotten, for me, the most important stuff, like the 91 Twins are what got me into sports. So I've been fortunate to pick up like a bunch of memorabilia from like the World Series trophy. But, before the game, the Twins catcher, Brian Harper, threw me his batting glove, and I have a photo of it that somebody took, my stepmom took of me when it's in the gloves in the air, and I have that. And then that game used jersey from Game 7 actually came up for auction a few years ago. Probably not that valuable to many people, right? Like, but to me, that was like everything in a moment. So pairing it together and the nostalgia and the memory, and that like got my love for sports and collecting as a whole started. If it wasn't for being at that series, I probably wouldn't have been. So that just, means so much to me.
I like to close these podcasts off with guests talking about their family.
Yeah.
Because family is really important to me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what's the most important lesson that you've learned from your mom that you're grateful for?
Yeah. My mom taught me that we were all equal, right? Like she was always big on like, it doesn't matter if you're a janitor, if you're the richest person in the world, we all, black, white, it doesn't matter, right? Like we're all the same. You're never better than anybody else. And she lived a very humble life, like intentionally. She didn't like material things, didn't like big things. She kept an old car forever. I kept trying to get her a new one. And she's like, no, I don't need that. Like it was almost like it was her brand, right? So like, I think just realizing the thing, she always was great to realize things that mattered and what doesn't. But I think the equality, and that's why, I tried to, I think I've been able to walk between worlds so well because, I treat everybody the same. When I've been fortunate to be around the highest profile, billionaires, entertainers, celebrities, as well as, people from all walks of life, and realize we really are just the same. Like just because you have a bigger bank account or successful in the way that we define it in that certain way doesn't make you who you are. You can be a good or bad person in any of that. So that's what comes to mind right away there.
If you could tell her one more thing, what would you tell her?
I think it's just, I think how important she was and how appreciative I am of everything that she did. So
That pretty much wraps it up. So
dude, you're the man. Thank you so much. This is
Thank you, bro.
incredible, by the way. Like, dude, what a find. I didn't even know this existed. I'm like debating, do I leave it sealed or open it up? I want to see the vinyl. I think I'm going to open it up and play it. I don't care. It's like wear your shoes. Right?
Yeah.
So sick, dude. Vin, thank you so much, brother.
Appreciate you, bro.
Dude, you're the man.
Oh, thank you.
This was great.